Well, good morning, good afternoon. Very pleased to be moderating this session on accelerating the decarbonization of high-emitting sectors. We're going to go deep on the collaboration between SBTi and Mission Possible Partnership, and this is going to be a really exciting webinar. My name is Maria Mendiluce. I am the CEO of the Women Business Coalition, but I'm also a board member of both the Science Based Targets Initiative and the Mission Possible Partnership. So I'm very pleased to introduce to you Luis Fernando do Amaral, the CEO of the Science Based Targets Initiative, and Chad Holiday, the board chair of the Mission Possible Partnership. Through this event, they are going to be explaining the why, the what, and the how of this technical collaboration between the two entities. I know that this is the start of many of the collaborations that the SBTi will have with other technical parties as the number of companies and sector guidances that are being developed increases over time. And without further ado, let's get started. So, Luis, why did you decide to carry on this technical collaboration?
Well, thanks, Maria. Well, first and foremost, I think I'm firm believer that 1 + 1 = 3. When SBTi started 7 years ago, we were probably the only kid on the block. We had to do a little bit of everything, from awareness raising, and then we evolved into standard development and into target validation. Gladly, that's no longer the case. We cannot solve that problem all by ourselves. So there's a whole ecosystem that has evolved, as you said, and we need to guarantee that alignment, and then everybody brings what is the best on the table, and that's what we're trying to do here. Our focus is one and foremost, which is really guaranteeing that ambition aligns with what science is telling us, right? That's really what and doing that through extended consultation processes, due processes, because processes are as important as content in these cases to bring the credibility to the system. That's what we're really focusing on, the ambition, because we are a firm believer, as well as Chad said, you cannot manage what you cannot measure. So you need to measure it first, and science-based targets need to be quantitative and based on the carbon budgets that we have. And that's, I think, what has been very successful by bringing that. And we also believe that you need to define success from the start. So once you get to that place in which you implemented all of the actions, you actually know you're first successful or not. Because if that ambition is not set from the start, as you said, Maria, then it becomes a storytelling competition at the end, because you don't know, oh, I was successful, I was not successful. Well, without that ambition from the start, it's very hard to define success. And as you said, we also think that by defining that ambition, new things come along. And the example that we were giving about the cement sector, right? And new innovations happen as long as you have that North Star where to go through, things do follow through. So this is where we focus on. But there's a whole ecosystem that needs to occur. From the accounting at the very beginning, we're very dependent on the accounting systems, because again, if that is not done, you cannot even set a target. From the transparency pieces of folks doing publication of their emissions, then it's us with the ambition. And then there's the action, which it's not us, right? We need other folks, for example, like Mission Possible Partnership, to support on the action piece. And then after that, there's accountability as well. So that's where we want to focus on the ambition piece, and then work with others with two things. So others can help this ecosystem to move, and we can also gain the expertise and go deep into the sectors of folks that do have that. So what excites me about these partnerships is exactly those two things. First, that we can help and work with the expertise of those sectors. And second, that we can also divide and conquer. So we can really focus on our science ambition. We're limited by the carbon budget, and that's where we're not going to give away, because that's our bread and butter. And then work with folks that know the sectors and can work with us on how we bring those things together. So this is, I think, what excites me. And as I said, I think this is the first one that we're trying to look into it, but we want to work more across the ecosystem, knowing that we are going to focus on the ambition, and we're not ever going to give away on the carbon budget and the science-based evidence that is needed, which is our biggest value added to this process.
Thank you, Luis. I think that science approach is so fundamental to the work that we're doing, but together with that, the transparency on seeing how far the different sectors can go, which inspire companies to try their best to go even further, to do what once was thought impossible and now is possible, thanks to Mission Possible partnerships. So over to you, Chad. Why do you think this technical collaboration is important?
Well, first, Maria, thank you for your analogy from back when we mean business, that it's in a rowboat, we all gonna be rowing together. So I think it would be the worst thing in the world for Mission Possible to try to redo what Science-Based Targets is doing, because they've done an excellent job on it. So we need to be 100% behind that, as we are. And then this cooperation, because we go sector by sector where we have our strategies, and I'm really proud of the work our teams have done to put those together, but now they have to go into action. So our thrust, Maria, as you know, is a part of our board, is we're moving from insight to action. So this is a perfect example of how we take all the knowledge we have from each one of our sectors, we connect it directly to the customer who will be using it through the Science-Based Targets approach. And I don't know how that will look in the end, but it needs to be what really makes a difference. But we have a chance to massively accelerate. You know, we talk about being with 400 companies, you're talking about 4,000 companies immediately. So all of a sudden we can talk about a massive step up in what's going on. And I just think we just have to empower our people to work together to take those steps. But if I could come back to kind of the thrust in my comment is, let's be sure we're talking to the customer, yeah, and that we're putting forward what they need in the form they need it. So, because my frustration with this one customer I was talking to is they really wanted to do something around marine. They really want to do something about steel. They just didn't know how. And so I think we have to have that connect. But if we talk to them at length about employee commuting, they probably would have turned us off. So we have to understand, you know, what the factor really fits in that pros. And I think we're, I say as quickly as we can move down the track into the steel sector, where I think it's a great fit, which is the first one we're working on, and then quickly move to the others. You know, from my perspective, this should be one of MPP's most important priorities as we go into next year.
Yeah, thank you, Chad. I think at Women Business, we call it the 4 A's of climate leadership. So ambition, set a science-based target; action, work with MPP and other initiatives; advocacy, so talk to policymakers and advocate for the changes that are needed for the deployment of these roadmaps; and then accountability, report progress. And I know that SBTi is starting now to develop the framework for reporting progress across the
Maria, could I just jump in? I just have to make an observation that Louise reminded me of this morning as we were talking earlier. We Mean Business is a group of organizations coming together. Science-Based Target is a group, MPP is a group. We're very unique. We all three are leveraging the power of many others, and that's really strong. Not easy. You know, the old African saying, Maria, we've talked about this before, you know, go fast, go alone, go far, go together. And so we're three organizations going together, then going together again. So the power we could have to go far is just amazing.
Yeah, we need to go far and fast. Can we go into detail? What does this collaboration between SBTi and MPP consist of, Luis?
Thanks. Yeah. Well, thanks. Yeah, we couldn't agree more, Chad. I think that's the example. We were all rowing in the same direction. There's alignment of strategies that happens, and each one brings an additional value to the table. And bringing that, focusing on which value that we bring to the table, that's what gets us far. So let's by putting simple words, the purpose of this initiative. So SBTi sets the ambition towards which companies must work. And MPP provides how to achieve those goals, the strategies to put into place. And as you said, you know better on the actual implementation of that and the action that is needed. So if the transition strategies are not compatible with the level of ambition that targets are set by a company, it's like that these objectives will not achieved, hence the importance of aligning those efforts. So the collaboration has been 2 or maybe even 3 pillars. So I think the first one is to look what has already been done, right? So the due diligence on a study of MPP's pathways that already exists, to assess if and how they can or could be SBTi compliant and align with the global carbon budget limits. So let me share you an example what we're currently doing as part of this objective. The SBTi recently launched, as mentioned, the cement guidance, and MPP has developed the sector transition strategies for the cement concrete sector too. So one is looking on the action, the other is kind of looking on the carbon budget. So these both initiatives have developed resources to support this decarbonization. We are currently undergoing the due diligence on this concrete and pathways to assess what parts of it and how does it actually could be SBTi compliant, and then we'll provide recommendations to MPP to ensure that where it can do, eventually it could be alignment on bringing those two things together. So between the ambition of the target and the strategies to implement to achieve the ambition, right? How we bring that strategy to implement with the ambition that is science aligned, where the points that there's a strict alignment, and where the points that eventually both of us need to work together more to bring those things together. So this is for the things that already exist. But I think what is more exciting is even for the things that are coming. So the second pillar is enhance the compatibility of the new sector-specific guidances. So a clear example is how both initiatives are currently, as you mentioned, Chad, starting and working on this iron and steel. MPP has developed sector transition strategies for the industry, while SBTi has currently developed specific guidances on the accounting and ambition setting process for the business. In this case, if we do it right together from the start with SBTi and MPP, we're already starting to co-develop an ambitious and technically robust 1.5 aligned methodology. So hopefully we're going to get there, and from the start, in which both things are already aligned from the start, take into account the unique context of the sector and the methodology that MPP has already in place. We need to be transparent, maybe not 100% will be on, but just doing that will bring us closer and closer to eventually get to it, that 100%, which is everyone's goal. We know there will be bumps in the way, maybe 80% alignment first, but that will slowly get us to a steady state in which these things will completely align. I usually use one example, Maria and Chad, that our dream is to solve this problem, right? But I have a secondary dream, which is, in my opinion, an enabler to solve the climate change problem, is that our accounting, target definition, defining what are the companies that are meeting their targets or not, will become as efficient as we do on the finance sector. Whenever we look at a balance sheet, you know exactly what the assets, you know exactly what the liabilities are. When somebody's calculated the return on investment or the profit is of a company, everybody knows how to use what it is. But it took 100 years to get to this place. The first standardizations on the accounting starting on the late 1800s. Now we don't have that time, but there's now schools that were created around that, right? You have to get an accountant degree. There are 2 million accountants in the world. We need that for carbon, Chad, right? We need that exactly because we need the folks that need to measure and account for that, but we don't have enough time. So that's where we need to all aim for that alignment and that standardization of that process. But knowing that maybe we're the financial sector were in the beginning of the 1900s, and we need to accelerate that standardization of that process.
Yeah, Chad, what would you add to what Luis has commented?
Well, Luis, I just couldn't agree more. And your dream about having the mechanisms, the systems, is a dream that must occur. You know, we have to get there. Now, I think what's going for us is we can look at how they got there from the financial side. And if we can't do a lot better than that, I'd be disappointed. And we have a digital tool now. Yeah, so it's just like what's happened in countries in Africa. They skipped the landlines and just went to mobile. We can do the same thing here. We can go straight to digital. We don't have to go back over the spreadsheets like we had before. And that should be the standard the two of our organizations put together. Let's insist that we're doing it and we make it very user-friendly. Because I'm convinced if people can see the data, they'll take the action. And if they know the data is true and pure and not biased towards something that try to influence inappropriately, that will be important. So I think that's one of the most important things we can do together. And I think the more we can, take specific projects, let's say if we're starting here with steel, which is really good, is we can really publicize real accomplishments that move things forward. So it's not theoretical, it's not in general, it's what Matt, our signature CEO in our organization set us on, is move from great insight into action. And you're farther along in action than we are of an MPP, and we want to catch up with you, and we want to just work with you to do that. So we, again, don't invent the wheel. So this is, I couldn't be more enthusiastic about how to make this happen.
Thank you, Chad and Luis. So you can all hear the enthusiasm in the collaboration. And so the last question I have is, what can you say, Luis, about the benefits of harmonizing these resources between both organizations and initiatives, but also, to other initiatives that are out there?
Yeah, thanks, Maria. Well, as you said, I mean, we need to get this ecosystem working, right? And it's definitely that no one can do it by themselves. That's no question about it. And that's what excites me the most, is how we make 1 + 1 = 3, + 1 = 6, + 1 = 10, right? How we create that scale to do that. And so I think that's what is the key benefit, right, of this partnership, is how we are getting from this alignment as much as we can, identify where the points that need to continue to work to, as Chad said, skip some steps within the process on something that is extremely complicated. So I think one of the first benefit is really this efficiency benefit, right? How even if it's only to communicate, that's already a huge advances in efficiency, right? And then with the vision of aligning on the methods, and then with a final vision of aligning on the validations. So it's not only the customers that use sustainability as a benchmark for business and credibility. Investors are also increasingly taking interest of those practices, and they look on the investments in the future. So by helping to partner up and scale climate action, both the ones that are science aligned, and I want to be transparent with that, folks, we welcome every single action that can tackle climate change, right? Our business is just looking on the ones that are 1.5 aligned, but it doesn't mean that any other action starting right away is important, is not important. They're all very, very important. We just come in at the end of that process. So I think the first one is guaranteeing there is alignment, so the action starts to occur, as we were saying, Chad, as we continue to figure out this thing and continue to improve the system, because it will take a while to get it to the steady state that is needed. So I think the first one is bringing this efficiency on the medium term, and right away efficiency just by the alignment of narratives. I think the second is how we start to create guidances and clarification around the ecosystem, and not only for us, but also for eventually governments that are looking into this thing, or regulators, or investors, so they can see that we're all rowing in the same direction, understanding what the differences are, and making the calls for being prepared for creating this very fluid system in which accounting, reporting, target setting, action, delivery becomes a very fluid and efficient machine.
Thank you, Luis. What would you add, Chad?
Yeah, I agree with you totally. You just laid out a roadmap for us going forward, so I want to be sure we have it recorded. Let me just add two things that I think are very supportive of what you said. When this company I was talking to earlier, my first question to him is, how did you get started? Why did you decide to call Science-Based Targets Initiative? It started out in the press. And she said, well, we got a nudge. I said, well, where did the nudge come from? Well, we had some investors that started asking questions. We had a few people on our board that asked questions. We had a few employees that asked questions. So I think that nudge is important. So we need to make sure that it's out there to get people started, because once they got a little nudge, that they started moving. And the second thing I have found is going out and talking to companies across all 7 of our sectors, particularly companies also in the financial sector. They're heavily involved with us, the NPP. It's a confusing landscape. They've got so many people coming to them with different ideas. I think us going together will be much more powerful. Keep it simple, make it the value proposition, don't care who gets the credit. We're not trying to get credit. We just want action here. But I think the more we can simplify our message working together, and then who else should be working with us? The tent could be a little larger. There might be someone else that should be, with us, and we should consider that. But I think getting a nudge for a company, and if we could help with that nudge, it would be good. But I think investors can be a great nudge, along with governments, of course. But then as we come with a very simple message together, I think we can see this thing really rocket from here. An airplane is not a good analogy. It's a rocket that we could do.
Yeah, we need to go far and fast, but on planet Earth as well. So there's been like 40 questions, and the team, is answering to those. So you can see some of those responses. And there has been a lot of enthusiasm across both organizations for this partnership that we know is going to go further. Of course, science-based targets needs to ensure that there is a process that is science-based. I mean, that rigor has always been at the core of science-based targets. Now, MPP wants to show to the world that these how-to-abates are not how-to-abate. They are difficult to abate, but it is possible. I think this partnership, it's fantastic. I just love both organizations, and I will do all my best so that we start with steel, but we go fast to the other sectors, because I think companies need more detailed guidelines. And having seen the level of detail of the steel MPP work that goes asset by asset, I think this is a fantastic resource for science-based targets to benefit from. So
Maria, can I ask you a question, Maria? Because I see you as the mother of this partnership. And what drove you so much to bring us together to make this happen? I know you had a view into both of us, but I think it was more than just the view that led you to push us here.
Well, because I have seen, I have spoken to many clients, as you say, and they're very confused because there's lots of guidance out there, that they want to know which is the guidance. And so I think the Science-Based Targets Initiative is the target setting standard for companies. And since I joined Women Business and the SBTi board, I have been pushing, and I know my predecessor, Nigel, did the same. So this is the standard. Now, I believe that the Mission Possible Partnership is the initiative that is looking at the how-to-abate sector. And that's why instead of Women Business developing our own initiative, we decided to join forces. Now, I have seen the quality of the research done by Faustine and the team at ETC, RMI, at Mission Possible Partnership. I have seen, the difficulties of SBTi to ramp up, because they have moved from, I don't know, like 2,000 new companies per year. So it is impossible to catch up. It is impossible that SBTi has the level of detail and understanding that Mission Possible Partnership has. And so it just makes so much sense, right? So as a good mother, it makes common sense. As a good mother, I'll bring you together. And if you are not good kids, then I'll push you to be, because we just don't have time. We are seeing the NDC, the UNFCCC report telling us that we're really not doing well. And if we manage to have these two organizations working together, if we manage to convince many of these hard-to-abate sectors to come to the board, not only will they reduce their emissions, but they will also reduce the scope of the emissions of the 4,000 companies that are part of science-based targets. So that's why I think this is the most important partnership, and of many more to come. There is a lot to be done. There are many questions out there. I think I know that Luis is increasing its team, and it has done incredible changes to the organization to keep up with the success of the initiative. And so, yeah, I think we just need to get the work going and the collaboration smoothly. And this webinar, I think it is the commitment of both organizations to make this work. So, and I think maybe that's my concluded remarks. Now I'm going to go over to first Chad and then Luis for you to share some concluded remarks and give people maybe a couple of minutes before they jump into their next meeting. Chad.
Well, Maria, that was very helpful. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for this. I believe Radhika from the MPP team is on today. I think I saw her face earlier, and she was really critical in bringing us together. So I think rather than me having concluding remarks, I'd love for Radhika to describe why she thought this is so important. She put her personal energy into this. If you're there, please sign on and answer a great question.
Thanks, Chad. Thanks for the opportunity. And just wanted to say that I am a big supporter of this work because SBTi is recognized as a leader in raising the bar on ambition for corporates committed to science-based targets to reach net zero by 2050. And MPP is really excited to forge this technical collaboration and partnership with SBTi to help corporates in the 7 harder to abate sectors that we work in to reach net zero by 2050 or sooner. And through this partnership, we hope that we can simplify the sectoral guidance to net zero, inspire the confidence of corporates in the transition, and encourage even more corporates to commit to science-based targets and drive action today. Ultimately, collaboration with SBTi underpins MPP's long-standing commitment to make compatible sectoral guidance to corporates who we're looking to get, to move towards 1.5 aligned goals today. So I'm excited about this collaboration, and I look forward to working with SBTi even more closely over the coming months to make sure that for all the 7 sectors, we have a solution. Thank you.
Great, Radhika. Fantastic. Luis?
Thank you all. Yeah, I just wanted to echo what Radhika said. Very, very excited. As I said, 1 + 1 = 3. We need to leverage what we bring the most for the table. As mentioned, we are going to really be focusing on moving from what is needed to what is enough. But we really want to, from what is some action to climate change to what is needed in climate change. We're limited by the global carbon budget, and that's the one thing that we cannot really work our way around. And then we need to do the reverse engineer, but we need to do that in work with collaboration folks that do understand the sectors, that do understand the nuances. They can work together from one side on the expertise on the sector, and the other side on the tremendous expertise that our team has on the accounting, on the measurement, as you said, Chad, how we can support folks on understanding where you can get the biggest bang for the buck, and then work together on see how to align that to the global climate pathways and the carbon budget, which is ultimately what really limits what we can and cannot do. But I'm very, very excited. And again, as Maria said, this is the first of many. Really will leverage the ecosystem and looking very much forward to the results out of this partnership.
Well, thank you all for being with us today. Thank you for the incredible team that is behind these 2 organizations, that they are walking in the land of unknowns and making it much more clear for many companies what is the path forward. And they're really committed to do this. And while they might not have all the answers that many of you have, because we are discovering this territory, they will get to have all the answers thanks to collaborations like this one. So have a very good rest of the evening and morning. And then I hope that we see each other soon. And Chad and Luis, maybe, I don't know, in 6 months, 1 year, we could have another webinar where we start to announce how the steel, the aluminum, and other sector strategies are being adopted and used by SBTi. So I leave it there. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye-bye.